Hi there, and welcome. I'm really excited to talk about this one because it's something that I've just done again myself. So, we're going to talk about if I started another business in 2025, here's how I would do it. So, there's four things really that are key to this: there's why, there's what, there's how, and there's when. So, we're going to go through those. I'm going to talk about the key things that I would do if I was starting a brand new business again. Because starting a business can be overwhelming and incredibly exciting. It is really one of the coolest things that you can do in life. The first thing that I would always consider is why. Why am I thinking of starting a new business? And if your only answer is because I hate the boss I work for, maybe dig a bit deeper. I'm not going to say to anyone, don't do this because you hate what you're doing at the moment. But the reality of running a successful business that helps with your household income or even more, maybe becomes the sole. For example, in my business, in the last 10 years, it has been the only source of income I've had. So I am literally on the sword. So, the first big thing to think about is why you want to start your own business. Now, I don't want to destroy anyone's dreams, but I do want to be quite realistic about this. Running your own business is hard. So, if you've got a hobby business, and by that, what I mean is something that you've started up, something, usually this is a creative thing. My very first business was a hobby business for a couple of years. I happened to be selling skincare through a larger business that I'd come across, and I thought, cool, I'll sell their skincare. And to do that, a really good way of doing it was to do facials. And so I thought, great, I'll start my business and I'll run it from home. Absolutely nothing wrong from running a business from home. You can run $1 million businesses and multi-million dollar businesses from home or living a nomadic lifestyle from anywhere around the world. Generally, you'll need an internet connection, but apart from that, there's not a lot else you need. But a hobby business is one that there's really not a lot riding on it. So you can do it for the enjoyment of it. If you just want to make a little bit of extra money for whatever reason, that's absolutely fine. A hobby business is always going to be a lot easier and a lot less stressful. I'm not really going to talk about hobby businesses though, because you can set them up in any way that you want. As long as it's making more than you're spending, you're winning. Well done, you're running a successful business. But if your why is that you want to provide a significant income to your household, or perhaps be the only provider of income in your household, that's where there's a lot more riding on that, and you really do need to get serious about that. Part of that is thinking, why do I want to start my own business? And it's got to be, from here on in, we're just talking about businesses that provide significant amounts to their household income and that their household is becoming dependent on. So let's just run on that understanding from here on in. The business that I'm talking about, your household is dependent on it. It always becomes more of a weight on your shoulders when you've got that responsibility. So you do have to take it a lot more seriously. But your why should always be emotionally driven and relate to something that you really want to do yourself and that really lights a fire. Because there are going to be hard times. There's no way that anyone ever runs a business without encountering problems. It just doesn't happen. And anyone that says, I went through, an amazing run, nothing bad ever happened, and I made millions of dollars 3 months after I started, they are lying. I'm sorry. That's not a thing. So be prepared. There are going to be hard times. So you need a really strong why to get you through those. And if your only why is because I have to, because my household depends on me, that might not be enough. You might actually be better to find another job. If you were starting a business because you hate your job right now, you might actually just be better to find another job that you like better. The why of starting a business really needs to call to you. And there's a really cool concept. It's a Japanese concept called ikigai. And there's a lot of information about it on the internet. So I'm just going to let you do your Googling and learn much more about ikigai because it is a really, really awesome concept. But it comes down to four things. Ikigai is a really cool concept, and it comes down to thinking about the intersection of four things. So the first one is, what do I know how to do? What do I enjoy doing? What will people pay me for? And what do people need? So if you've got a business idea that ticks off all of those four and they all intersect together and your business idea is right in the middle of it, cool. You've got a winner, probably. There's a bit more to it than that, but you know that you are then going to be working on a business that is not just a money-making exercise. You've got a business that is able to provide you an income, and one that when it gets hard, because you've got a passion for what you're doing, then that's going to get you through the hard times because it's going to be something you really, really believe in, and that will get you through the hard times. So that's the first bit of why are you starting this, and what is the intersection of all those things, your ikigai. Then thinking about specifically what is the business that I'm going to create. If I was starting from scratch, I would be looking at those four things that contribute to my ikigai. I'm then going to go, okay, specifically, what is my business? So for me, my newest business is an online coaching business. So for me, that absolutely hits the sweet spot of all of the things. Yes, people need that. Yes, people are already paying many, many, many people all around the world for online business coaching. They will pay me because I am a Clockwork accredited coach. I have 20 years of business experience running 2 successful businesses. And I have helped many people in the past on a non-paid basis, and just in terms of, bits here and bits there. I absolutely, as I say, I've helped people many, many times. I love doing this. This is my happy place. So my ikigai is well and truly in that group, in the online coaching area. So that's cool. But number 2 is, what specifically am I going to do? So there's still, if I look at the online coaching thing, I can do group coaching. I can do one-on-one coaching online. I could do like a fractional officer of some description, if that's a term that you're familiar with. There's lots of different ways that I can have that ikigai at the center of what I do. So I now need to figure out, what am I going to do? So for me, it is the online group coaching because I'm still running another business. And so I don't have the time to put into one-on-one coaching. I want something that I can help a lot of people, and a lot of people who are in situations that I have been in for, years and years at a time in my previous businesses. I want to get them quick wins. I would love to be working alongside someone for years and years and years, but my heart really pulls me towards helping more people at what would be a more superficial level than helping fewer people at a much, much, much deeper level. So that's where I went, okay, here's my ikigai, and here's my what am I going to do. So I am now online group coaching. So then you've got how. How am I going to do this business? How am I going to deliver it to my clients? Who are my clients? This is where it starts becoming quite real. And this is where you'll get things like, what is my legal business structure going to be? Now, that I'm not giving any advice on that because I don't know where in the world you are that you are listening to this. And I'm based in New Zealand. I am very familiar with the legal structures that businesses can have. That is one of the things that you need to do, though, is to look at what are the legalities around setting up a business in the jurisdiction that I am in or planning to be in. You might decide, well, actually, I want to be a digital nomad. I don't want to be tied down anywhere. Check that out as well. Are there going to be any rules or regulations that you need to follow with that? Or any tax advantages? Just a heads up, there can be tax advantages to that. Again, not an accountant, that is not advice. Okay, now we're going to look at the how. So, how are we going to do this? How are we going to deliver this? How are we going to set the business up? What things are involved with all of those? So, this is where a business really starts getting quite real. So, first of all, figure out what you are doing for people. Then your how will flow from that. How am I going to deliver this? Am I going to do this all myself? Am I going to team up with people? Am I going to have contractors, virtual assistants? Am I going to do everything myself? My preference when I'm setting up a business is to do everything myself initially. It's cheaper, and I've never had $1 million sitting in the bank to bankroll a business while I got it up and running with other people. So financially, I've always needed to start from a place of doing everything myself. But I actually think that's a really good way of doing it anyway, because you then get a really good understanding of what makes your business tick. What things do you try that go better? What things do you try that crashed and burned and that you don't ever want to do again? And having that background understanding when you do bring other people on to help you out, that's going to be really good, because if then they say, hey, we should try this thing, and maybe you've already tried it in the past, you can say, hey, listen, I've already tried that. It didn't work. Tell me how the way you would approach it would work when the way I've already tried it didn't. And they might go, oh, actually, I would do exactly the same thing. And you're like, right, well, we're not going to do it that way. Or they might be, well, okay, you tried it this way, but the way I would approach it would be XYZ. And you've then got a really good understanding to decide whether that's a good path to go on, because you've had the experience of setting up your own business, of running it by yourself for a while. You get to know what works and what doesn't work, so you can then help other people in your business later on make some really good decisions for the business. So that's how I would do it. If you were looking at setting up a business and you've got $1 million in the bank, I don't think I'm the right one to give you the advice on that one. You should maybe go and find another coach or another person in that sort of league. Start looking around for venture capitalists and look for people who can give you consulting hours with a proven record, because I've never done that, so I don't think I can give you advice on that. But my advice for someone starting out a small business themselves: always do the groundwork yourself, get it up and running, do the marketing yourself, do the actual work yourself, do the paperwork yourself, design the paperwork, design the automations, all of those sorts of things. Because then when you hand them over, you still understand enough about what's going on to know whether things are working or not, and why they are maybe not working, and how you can then get them back on track. So that would be my suggestion. How are you delivering your thing? Are you delivering something through an online model? Are you selling to people from a physical shop? Are you selling to people from an online shop, maybe instead of or as well as a physical shop in your local high street? Thinking about all these sorts of things, it will really come from what are you delivering to people. If you're delivering a product, there needs to be things associated with that. If it's a physical product, obviously logistics, delivery, all those sorts of things come into it. If it's an online product, you need to be looking at what software am I going to help to deal with this? Life does not give you gold stars for doing things the hard way. And this is something I learned so many times and still went back and did it again. And then the universe would, I've spoken about my business coach that I had a few years ago already once, and I think in another podcast, and something else that she also used to say, I would imagine still does say, is that the universe or life will give you several warnings about something. The first warning will be light as a feather, and the universe is just saying, hey, that's not a great way of doing that. And it might just be your marketing efforts aren't landing the way that you're expecting them to, or your product isn't selling the way you're expecting it to. So you get a little feather. Then you get a bat. The universe is like, this is not the right way to do this. And it might be that you are throwing more and more money at marketing and nothing is selling. But you're still throwing more and more money at marketing because Google tells you to, or Facebook tells you to, or your local newspaper rep tells you to, or your radio rep tells you to. That's a bat. You are starting to invest some money that you are effectively now just wasting. And the next one is going to be a truck. Something big and nasty is going to point out to you in no uncertain terms, that thing you were doing is dumb. Stop doing it right now. Try and learn from those descriptors that she had, the feather, the bat, and the truck, because honestly, I have been hit by that truck so many times. And it took me probably about 18 years of my 20 plus in business to figure out this thing that life doesn't give you gold stars for doing things the hard way. There is no shame whatsoever in using someone else's ideas or accepting someone else's help or getting an already pre-made workflow and just adapting it to your business, or looking at someone. Now, I am not saying copy the business down the street from you and set up in competition to them after you've gone and worked there for 6 months, because that sucks. And that's dirty and that's nasty, and karma will get you if you do that. But if you see a business model that's working in a totally different country to you, and you look at that and you go, that's cool. I love how they're doing that. I'm not competing with them. And in fact, maybe I could collaborate with them. Absolutely. Look at that business model and see what you can learn from it. If it's appropriate, reach out to that other person and say, hey, listen, I'm in a totally different area to you. I'm not any competition. I love what you do. Would you mind if we just maybe got together on Zoom and had a quick call and I pick your brains? Always make sure that you are able to do something for them. Don't just expect people to give you free stuff. People will, absolutely. If someone comes to me and says, look, I'm really struggling with these automation things, can you help me figure out what's going on? I absolutely love doing that stuff. And there's no way I would dream, this is outside, obviously, my coaching business. But if someone had come to me a year or two ago and said, I'm really stuck with Zapier. Do you mind just hopping online and showing me and help me try and figure out what I'm doing wrong? Absolutely. I would have jumped at the chance to help them with that, because that's my happy place. I love doing that. And I wouldn't have expected to be paid for that. But genuine, heartfelt thanks, I would have expected. And, if there was some way that they found that they could refer someone to me as a thank you, that would be really, really super cool. Because I'm a huge believer in karma. So if you do nice things for people, you are likely to get nice things back from the universe at some point. It's not the reason I do things, but it's the way that the universe tends to work. Going back to my life doesn't give you gold stars for doing things the hard way. Don't try and do everything the hard way. Reach out, ask for help, pay for help if you can. But when you're getting started in business, generally you've got a very, very tight budget. So maybe join some Facebook groups. I've got a Facebook group for business owners. It's a closed Facebook group. What goes on in the group stays in the group. But it means that, you can ask for help in there, and other people will be like, hey, I had that exact thing happened to me. Here's how I solved it, etc., etc. So look for help. Look for the helpers in life. I love that saying, look for the helpers in life, because there are so many helpers. So yeah, you do not have to do everything yourself. You do not have to figure everything out yourself. You do not have to do things every time the hard way. Sometimes you'll have to, because business, as I said, it's hard. Try and make it easy on yourself wherever and whenever you can, because it's hard enough. And then the when is your final and your 4 things. So we've talked about why, what, how, and now when. When are you going to launch? Now, generally speaking, you've got 2 ways of approaching it. One is you can look at all the things that you've got to do and you can go, I think that's going to take me 3 months. That might take me 6 months. That might take me 3 years. Don't go into the 3 years. You'll never, ever, ever get that business off the ground. If you are counting up the time and then setting the launch date, I would probably allow about another 30% of just unassigned time, because the one thing I've learned in business is it moves like treacle, and it's like wading through treacle sometimes. So you might need a particular, I don't know, if you were setting up a business and it's a bricks and mortar store, you might need some planning permission from your local council. You might be like, well, their website says that they'll have that back to me and sorted out in 2 weeks. They might actually be taking more like 4 to 5 weeks to turn those things around, and you might not just know it. So allow a lot of extra time if you're going, okay, stage 1 is going to take me 2 months, stage 2 is going to take me another month, stage 3 is going to take me 6 weeks. I would build in a buffer of at least 30% to each of those timeframes if you're doing it that way. The other way is you can go, I am launching on that date. Kind of get a rough idea of how long, try and get a rough handle on how long you think all these things are going to take. But this one is more of a, like the old Kevin Costner thing, build it and they will come. Put the date in place and work towards that. You'll be more likely, you may not hit that date with Stuck to Scaled. I had a particular date in mind, and I was going to have 2 weeks before that date, before that first launch date, where I was basically sitting back and twiddling my thumbs. Didn't work. Some of the stuff I did get done in the time frames that I'd set, but if I had said, okay, I am not going to launch until I've got everything perfect and in place, I can guarantee Stuck to Scaled would still not be off the ground. To me, that's my style of setting up a business, is to go, okay, this is when I'm going to start it. This is the stuff that, here is a plan to get all the stuff done before then. And then real life happens, and here is plan B of the stuff that I must get done. Oh, and look, now there's a whole lot of stuff that I can do after my launch date. There was a bit of that with Stuck to Scaled. There were things that were being done after the launch date that I had planned to do well prior. But that's the way it goes. So that's my approach. Set a realistic date as much as it ever can be, because you don't know what you don't know. But set a date, set your plan to get it achieved by then with a bit of a buffer zone. And then when it goes wrong, because lots of stuff will not go according to plan, because that's life, you've still got a buffer zone. And then there's still likely to be stuff that actually didn't need to be done at all for your minimum viable product to launch. So just a wee bit of advice. Hopefully it's gone a bit longer as I thought it might. But, you probably get the feeling that I do love talking about this stuff. Having set up 3 businesses so far, and Stuck to Scaled being the only intentional setup, the other 2 I more or less just fell into, it really was a huge learning curve for me. But it let me see that the things that I'd done setting up the other 2 businesses, they were still relevant, just in different ways. If I started another business this year, I would start with thinking about, why do I want to start up my own business? What do I want to do using the Ikigai exercise? How am I going to deliver that business or that product or that thing? And when am I going to start that business? So there's your four. Those would be the four things that I would go through. And then just close your eyes, screw up all the courage that you can muster, and just do it. Announce it to a couple of close friends or the world, depending on what sort of a person you are, and just start. Because you can plan and you can plan and you can plan, and in 10 years' time, you'll still be planning. But if you just, I love that saying from We Bought a Zoo. It's got me through quite a few interesting times in my life. It took, I can't remember the exact quote, look it up, you'll find it. All it took was 60 seconds of insane courage or something along those lines. That's what it takes, is to go, okay, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it. Right, I'm throwing my heart in now. I am doing this and changing from it. I am already planning this. I am on the path to launching. Commit to that and have a really, really strong why, and you will overcome pretty much anything that life can throw you. And if you have any challenges, I would love you to join our Facebook group. So it's on Facebook, obviously. Stuck to Scaled. You'll find the link in our Facebook group in the group section. So apply to join there. We would love to have you in and help you to help overcome any challenges that you're having, or even just a shoulder to vent on, because sometimes in business, that's what you need as well. So we'd love to have you on board in the group. If you want to know more about Stuck to Scaled, a 12-week online group coaching course, please check us out at the website, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.